Welcome, mortals, to the Beautiful Dead podcast. If you've come to this channel, you should stay for several reasons. One, you love vampires. This is a vampire podcast where we break down movies, TV shows, and books about vampires. We talk about the universe that's been created, how are they made, what rules do they have to follow, and more. Every once in a while, like October, I set aside the fiction and talk about all things vampire. 2, you have a podcast or would like to have a podcast and want to see behind the scenes of recording one. I edit out very little, so you will get to see mistakes and interruptions and learn along with me. Or 3, you're a fan of the podcast and you just want to watch me record it live. Or you like my books and you can't get enough of me. So, if you're still here, I promise it's due to your own free will, and I have not used my powers to keep you here. Now, watch the title cards and listen to the music along with the podcast. I'm gonna go get a bite, and I'll meet you back here, nice and full.
Hello? Really?
Vampire! We take your candy!
Count Dracula.
I am Dracula. And I bid you welcome, Mr. Hunt, to my house. Come in.
Our first award goes to the vampire for most blood drained in a single evening.
The strength of the vampire is that people will not believe in him.
Good evening, my fellow vampire lovers. The sun is going down, and you know what that means. It's time for me to record another episode of my podcast, The Beautiful Dead. As always, I'm your host, Lena Nazari. Go to lenanazari.com to find links to my social media, ways to join my fanged family or my street team, blah, blah, blah. If you've been watching this for a while, you've heard this spiel. Something we haven't talked about in a while. Please like and subscribe and turn on notifications. It really does make a difference for the podcast and how people find them. And also just reminds me that I'm not just talking to myself every week. And if you haven't checked it out in a while, go check out my Spotify, Music of the Vampires. That came from an episode from last season when we talked about vampire music and put together a playlist as well as the Eternal Night Shift series soundtrack. These are songs that either are mentioned in the books or songs that I think of when I write certain parts of the books or that other people have added that makes them think of the series. So go check those out. We're gonna make this quick tonight, a nice quick one. I don't know if you can hear it, but the wind is blasting outside right now. It's crazy. So hopefully that won't be picked up on the mic. If it does, I guess it's spooky and it will add to the whole vibe. This evening, because I'm so chilled right now, we're gonna go with guilty pleasures for my vampire tea. And I chose this for a couple reasons. One, it's a black tea with blackberry and peaches, and I do really like this tea. It's caffeinated, which I need, but also somebody out there somewhere thinks that tonight's movie is one of their guilty pleasures, which no judgment, but I mean, there must be people out there that love this movie because it's still going strong. So let's go ahead and talk about it. And if you haven't, go check out Vampire Tea. I don't know what you're doing. I actually, when I was down in New Orleans, went to the Boutique du Vampire and saw the Vampire Tea all lined up, and I took a picture oh, there's the Vampire Tea. So yeah, if you're watching right now, Vampire Tea Company, I just love when I just see you out in the wild. I get so excited. So let's talk about tonight's movie. Now, there is a TV show called Blood Ties, We're not talking about that. I promise I will talk about that in the future. We're talking about Blood Ties, the movie. And I want to say it was a made-for-TV movie. It had to have been. It feels so much like a made-for-TV movie. If it wasn't, I'll be shocked. But let's do a summary because a lot of you probably have not seen it. Now, I found it on Amazon Prime. But let's go ahead and do a quick summary. Oh, if you haven't watched or listened, massive spoiler alert, I am going to ruin everything, okay? We talk about everything from the beginning to the end. So don't be mad at me if you watch this and I ruin it for you. Summary. The film opens in Loving County, Texas, where a teenage boy named Cody Puckett awakens one ominous night to find his parents staked and burned by a heretic vampire hunter group called SCAV, which stands for the Southern Coalition Against Vampirism. Doesn't that sound like something from True Blood? After shooting him with a crossbow, the vampire hunters allow Cody to escape, hoping he will lead them back to his extended family. In Long Beach, California, journalist Harry Martin receives the details of the Texas killings before heading out to hear the verdict of a court case he's been covering. Assistant DA Amy Lorne is cornered in an elevator by the members of the Shrikes, a biker gang named after the unpleasant little birds who impale their prey on thorn bushes. You know what? I need some water. No offense to the tea, but I need some water. Oh, I'm already distracted. Oh, one of whom the ADA is currently prosecuting. So this biker gang corners her in the elevator because she's currently prosecuting like a member of their biker gang. Harry appears to break up the incident. The gang leader, Butcher Bird, warns Harry that Uncle Eli isn't happy with the articles he's been writing. Harry explains to a confused Amy that he and Butcher Bird are distant cousins. In court, an obviously fixed jury announces that it cannot reach a verdict. Disgusted, Amy storms out and Harry goes after her. He asks her to attend a family party with him before leaving her to join Eli Chalerin? Wow, I just butchered that. Chaleron? I don't know. The powerful businessman who fixed Butcher Bird's trial. At Eli's office, Harry warns Eli that it's starting again and shows him the newspaper clippings of the Texas killings. Later that week, Cody reaches town and tries to find Eli, but instead he encounters the Shrikes. At Eli's birthday party, Amy is surprised to learn that Harry is connected to so much wealth and power. He reveals that his real name is Herlevon Martinescu as part of his Carpathian heritage. If you're groaning right now, just wait. The party comes to an abrupt halt when Butcher Bird enters with Cody. Harry excuses himself to Amy, joining a council in the private room. There, the male family members hear about the death of Cody's parents. Eli, Harry, and the council tell Cody that his parents were members of their family who decided to move away to Texas before Cody was born. When Cody has left the room, Harry tries to convince the others to leave the killings to the police, that the family cannot go on with the old ways. Furious, Eli accuses Harry of betraying the family, speaking sneeringly of Amy and provoking him to violent anger. Meanwhile, a nervous Amy is teased first by Celia, who's Eli's half-sister, then by Butcher Bird. Harry rescues her and takes her home where, despite his obvious attraction to her, he rejects her advances and leaves. Later that night, Harry receives an unexpected visit from Celia, who seduces him, inviting him to bite her throat as they couple. Meanwhile, Cody is then taken in by Celia and is later tempted to become involved with the Shrikes as they ride out into the night with their clan's girls. Later the next morning, an argument between Butch and Cody over the pendant, which had belonged to Cody's grandmother, leads Butch to enlightening Cody about their shared family heritage as vampires. A shocked Cody refuses to believe it and attacks Butch out of rage, leading to a wolf-like fight, much to the excitement of the other Shrikes and their women. Harry appears to break up the brawl, and Cody realizes during the fight he has bitten Butch on the neck, and then realizes that everything that Butch has said about their family is true. Later, Harry tells Cody about his parents and their family. He also reveals that their family has been at war with the heretic vampire hunters for generations. Cody begins to crave revenge for his family and chooses life with the Shrikes over Harry's pleas for him to please choose a more peaceful life. Harry then returns to pursue a relationship with Amy, but knows his family does not approve of her as she is not one of them. Staying at Eli's house, Cody tries to familiarize himself with the vampire community and how to identify vampires. Zapping different TV channels, he asks Celia, this is how you know this is really old, he asks Celia whether Donald Trump appearing in a real TV scene is a vampire, and Celia responds, maybe. Man, this video is gonna be strike down now. The vampire hunters soon show up in Long Beach and kidnap Celia to lure the Carpathians into a final showdown. As tradition demands, their battle takes place at the hour of the jackal, 3 a.m. on a beach where Eli has a new hotel under construction. At first, the fight goes in the favor of the hunters, but the Shrikes eventually turn up and help them turn the tide. When the hunters are defeated, the council vote to have them killed, even against Harry's pleas to simply turn them over to the Texas authorities for the murder of Cody's parents. When the family attacks and bites the remaining hunters, Cody wishes to join them, but is dissuaded by Harry. The Shrikes then take the corpse of the hunter and throw them into the sea as Harry and Cody walk off. As they leave, Cody keeps looking back and wondering if his decision to leave with Harry was the right one. All right, we're going to talk about this during my thoughts, but it's as cheesy as it sounds. Let's get into it though. Vampiric crossovers. There actually were a few. So Patrick Bachow is in this and also in Kindred the Embraced, which we covered last season on the podcast. Jason London is in this. It's his first movie, actually, if you guys remember Jason and Jeremy London. So Jason London is in this. He's also in Dracula 2, The Ascension, and Dracula 3, Legacy. And then Bo Hopkins is in this, and he's also in From Dusk Till Dawn 2. Now, I had to mention this. Michelle Johnson plays Celia, the half-sister, and she was in Waxwork, which, yes, technically is not a vampire movie, but she was in the scene where the pretty rich girl steps over the rope into the wax scene and is transported into the world of Dracula and gets turned into a vampire by Dracula and his brides. So I'm like, I have to say it because I loved Waxwork when I was younger. Oh my God, I was obsessed with that scene. I was obsessed with it. So those of you who know the scene I'm talking about, please comment down below so that I don't feel like I'm totally crazy and such a loser. But Waxwork, I might actually watch it tonight. I'm just saying. All right. Oh, my favorite game. When I saw this was Canadian, I was like, maybe there's a chance. How many people were in this and also in Supernatural? So the answer is 1, but I'll take it. Kim Johnson-Ehrlich was in this, and she played Dr. Eleanor Visiak, the dragon expert, in 3 episodes of Supernatural. She was the one that was the dragon expert, and then you found out, again, spoiler alerts, that she's like the immortal creature and she had a liaison with Bobby. Her! I'll post a picture if I can find one. Alrighty. Vampire trivia and references. In this movie, this boy is wearing this pendant, and they call it the Pendant of Lilith. Okay, we know Lilith, right? And they say it was carved into a bloodstone, and that's how he is recognized as one of the Carpathians. So as we know, as we've talked about several times, many scholars believe that Lilith was the first vampire. So that's our big reference. All right, let's break down this world. Okay, Relationship to humans. In this world, most humans, do not believe in vampires. So much so that this young boy who believes he is a human does not believe in vampires until he bites his friend. Now, there are some humans who know about vampires, and they are hunters, and they are trying to trap and kill these vampires. Of course, there are some vampires who do mate with humans, even though it's mentioned multiple times that it's really frowned upon. Relationship with animals, we actually never see this, so we don't know if they can interact with animals, control animals, if animals hate them, if they can feed on animals. I don't know any of this, okay? I want you guys to picture a 90s Lifetime movie about vampires, and that's the level we're working with, okay? Appearance, they look exactly like humans. Exactly. To the point where they have no fangs. I think we all know how Lena feels about this, but we're going to talk about it at the end. Blood. We do see Harry bite Celia, and it's implied that he drinks her blood, but we do not see it. And Harry explains that the biting only really happens between two vampires in a height of passion or in anger for defense. That's it. I guess they don't need to feed on blood. We see them eat food. We see them smoke cigarettes. We see them drink alcohol. So essentially, they're human. Just saying. Sunlight. They can be in the sunlight. Again, I don't understand. They can sleep anywhere. They all have beds. Okay, so what makes you vampires then? Whatever. Holy items. The hunters do hold up a cross to one of the vamps, and the vamp does back off, but it's not clear if he's actually repulsed by it or he's like playing along. I have no idea. There's so many holes in this plot. I can only report to you what I'm able to gather. I don't have a lot to work with here. Rules. There is no rule about them sleeping in the soil of their homeland. They do cast reflections. They don't need to be invited in. The only thing I can catch is there's like a hierarchy. So there seems to be like a head vamp. There seems to be like a council of vamps, which the implication is that they are the older ones. They seem to be the ones who make and hold on to the rules, although we know Harry's a bit of a rule breaker because he's no longer following the old ways. Sounds like vampire chaos to me. All right, powers. We see Celia scale a wall and climb into a window, but then she uses a ladder like anyone else would, so I'm confused by that one. From the fights, I'm assuming that they are strong and very agile, but again, it's vampire versus vampire, so it's kind of hard. They heal faster than humans. That was the one thing that like really stood out. So other than the healing, let's think about this. So they have no fangs. They don't drink blood. They apparently can scale the walls, but then will also use ladders, I guess, so that nobody sees them. Other than the fast healing, I don't know. They don't have like any mind powers or anything like that. And then Harry explains that they're not even immortal. He said they can last like 100 to 125 years. Okay. So what makes you vampires then? All right. How are they made? So the implication is that from the lore that I have pieced together oddly from this movie that I had to watch twice and I'm still this confused, is that they're born this way. So they're born into this family. So they call themselves Carpathians, so we can assume that they originated in the Carpathian Mountains or Romania or Transylvania. But they never talk about, like, you can't make a vampire, you're only born that way. Heartbeat or breathing, this is never addressed, but considering that they die in 100 years and eat and drink and smoke, and I'm going to assume they also have heartbeats and breathe. How do they die? The first two vampires killed in this movie are Cody's parents. They have stakes driven through their heart, and then their mouths are filled with soil. The hunters do carry crossbows, so we can assume an arrow through the heart would also do it. Celia is kidnapped, and the hunters attempt to burn her at the stake. And when Harry is explaining vampires to Cody, he said, I wouldn't stand in front of a speeding taxi. So, like, okay. So, everything that kills you also kills humans. Yeah. All right. Are they good or are they bad? Well, like so many things we cover, you can choose what you're going to be in this world because you're basically human. Because I don't know what makes you a vampire. Oh, God. I'm too far in now. I can't quit. All right. Tropes I love and tropes I hate. I do love when the vampires have their own dealings within their own lineage. Like, they handle their own stuff. So, like, we have our own council, our own rules, our own ways to, like, maintain the laws and our own punishments. And we handle it all, like, in-house. I love that idea. And it reminds me so much of Kindred the Embraced, which it might have just been because Patrick was in this and that, but it was so similar, the whole idea of like representatives from each one of the houses being there to discuss everything and like who's not following the rules and who needs to be handled and all that kind of stuff. Tropes I hate. So, we've talked about this before. I hate when vampires don't have fangs. I hate when they can be in the sunlight. And these don't have fangs. They can be in the sunlight. They eat food. They drink alcohol. They only bite each other. I don't like. But what's the point then? What is the point? I don't understand. And then at one point in time, he says like, the word vampire is so offensive. I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing here? What am I doing here? What is happening? This whole setup, just not my cup of tea. Speaking of tea, good segue. All right, let's get into ratings. Let's just do this, right? Let's just finish it off. I'm ready to be done with this one. How scary or evil are the Carpathians? Because apparently vampire is offensive. How scary or evil are the Carpathians of blood ties? Per Harry, they are 30% stronger than humans. I just want to break this down. Are you 30% stronger than the average human or 30% stronger than human capability? Because I'm 30% stronger than a lot of humans. I'm just saying. All right. They don't have fangs. They die after 125 years max on this earth. They don't need blood. Guys, they're not even remotely scary. Like, if a mouse ran into this room right now, I'd be more scared. Just saying. The SCAVs, the Southern Coalition Against Vampires, they're actually more scary because they are zealots. And I think zealousy is terrifying. So they're actually more scared. So sorry, Carpathians. 1 out of 10 stakes to the heart for scariness and evil, and that's me being nice. I should have given you a big old goose egg, but I gave you 1. I'm just being nice right now because I feel bad. All right, how sexy or alluring are the Carpathians? Okay. A human woman kisses a male vampire and says that she's been wanting to do that all night. And he says, yeah, I know, there's something about me. So this implies that he knows that vampires have some sort of pull to humans, like some sort of allure. So either that or he's just got like a really big ego, which is also possible. The implication is that their nature does draw humans in. These vampires clearly love sex because we see them doing it often and talking about it a lot. We see a dance between a half brother and sister that is close. They're close. Obviously, they're a lusty lot, these Carpathians. So 1 point for being vampires, 1 point for loving sex, 2 per Harry for the fact that just being a vampire makes you better in bed. This is what he's telling Cody, so we're up to 4 now. And then 1 for Harry's explanation that humans subconsciously find the Carpathians attractive. So we will give them 5 out of 10 onks for sexiness and allure. Don't get excited, Carpathians. I'm not giving you a 10. Has anyone ever gotten a 10? You guys will have to let me know. Has anyone ever gotten a 10 out of 10 for sexiness and allure? I don't know. All right, my thoughts. As the ratings show, these vampires are just sort of there. They just sort of exist. They're not necessarily impressive in any area at all. And that is because the writing and the acting in this movie they're just not good. It's just not good. I understand it's the 90s. It was a made-for-TV movie. But that being said, the 90s brought us some epic vampire material. So the fact that it's the 90s is no excuse. And then Made for TV brought us Salem's Lot, so there's no excuse, okay? There's just no excuse. It's just bad writing. And I understand actors do the best they can with the writing they have. That being said, I've seen some actors pull off some pretty bad writing and like really make it good, decent. So there's just no excuse. It's not a good movie. They're barely even vampires. I wanted to look up IMDb review titles for this episode, but even those are not interesting. Even the review titles are so boring. This whole thing was just so boring. The ending is so cheesy. The vampires are deciding how to punish the hunters. Harry gives this sort of half-hearted speech about not becoming what the hunters are accusing them of being. The vamps choose to attack anyways, and Harry convinces Cody not to become a monster. If it weren't for this podcast, I never would have finished this movie. Never. I would have been 20 minutes in like, this is not a vampire movie. They tricked me. It's like being catfished. But I had to finish it because now I've committed. That being said, I didn't spend a penny to watch it. It was completely free. I will still do the TV show of the same name because I'm assured that it is not the same thing. So I will go check it out. I am a professional. I'm dedicated to this podcast. I said I would cover every vampire movie and TV show and book that I could until the day that I can no longer record. And this was on my list, and now it's done. So now I never have to do it again, and I'm so excited for that. So tell me what you think. Are you gonna go watch it? Listen, I think like if you wanted to have a bad TV movie night, and you had like wine and friends, and this would be one. You could probably turn this one into a drinking game in some way and have some fun with it, but I never want to watch it again. That's it. Thank you so much for joining me. Next week, we are going to do Jacob's Wife, which I kind of stumbled across. So we'll be checking that one out. Jacob's Wife. I believe I found it on Amazon Prime. So go look that one up. And in the meantime, I'm going to go, hopefully nothing outside has blown away. I haven't lost any siding or anything like that. And I'm going to get back to writing. So thank you guys for joining me this week. I hope I brought you at least a smile. And I will see you next week. So I wish you wicked hugs and bloody kisses. Good evening.